Okay, Ken Adelglass here with our final, let's finish up our game here for our cat and mouse. Just to review where we were at when our last tutorial ended. Let's hit the play button. So we had our cat can hit the mouse, and we end, but we don't really have a game over. And same thing when we come up and get to our end, for the time being, we put our little game over, you won looks, but we want to do something a little better than that. So what we're going to do is get started here, and let's hit the play button again. So let's take care of that cat and mouse. So after the cat hits the mouse and everything disappears, so let's go to our cat, and we see our cat, when he's touching the mouse, he hides, he broadcasts caught mouse, and if you remember, the mouse receives caught mouse right here, and he stops moving. If you remember, we kind of paralyze him so he can't move after the cat gets him. And then he does his little routine of spinning and then hiding. So the last thing we can do, we can change our stage. We can create a new stage backdrop for the game over rather than just leaving it at a blank screen. So I'm going to paint a new backdrop. I'm going to come over here to my paintbrush where it says new backdrop and click the paintbrush, and then I'm going to do one of these gradient fills, and the way I do that is I can select a color. I'll make it like blue and yellow. So first I'll pick a blue, and then I'll click here where it's white. I want to bring that up, and I'll make this one yellow, so we have yellow and blue. So to switch, you can just keep clicking back and forth, as you can see, and then I could click my little fill with color, and you'll notice here I have 4 different ways I can fill it. I'm going to use my favorite color burst. Look here. So I just clicked here, and then I just clicked in there, and I have a little color burst fill. And then with text, I can write game over on my backdrop. Easy enough. So with text, I'm going to hit the T. I'm going to use a black text this time, so if I just hit black, it'll replace the blue. And since I'm not using a fill, I don't have to worry about color changing. The other thing I could do is make a neat little font here. Where it says Helvetica, I can click down. I'm going to choose marker or mystery. Any of these are good. They're all kind of neat fonts. So I'm going to hit mystery, and then I'm just going to click once into my background, and I'm going to type game over, you lose. Okay, now if I just come over here and click once, you'll see I have handles around the text, and when you have handles, you can grab a handle and grow the text just like that. So I'll have that nicely centered there, and that's how it'll look on my screen. That looks good. And I'm going to make another backdrop, so I'm going to hit paint new backdrop again. And this one I'll make, let's say I'll make it red and yellow. So I'll do red, and I'll make it red and let's see, maybe a light blue, that's fine. And I'm going to go to the fill tool. I'll do that color burst again. Do that. Just one click. So this will be my you win background. So I did game over, you lose, and this will be game over, you won. So I'm going to, again, I'll just use black text to keep this simple. Maybe I'll use yellow actually. It'll probably show up better. I'm going to use yellow text, click on the T, click around here, and I'm going to write game over, you won. Or game over, you won. And I'm going to grab a corner again. Remember, you just click off and then grab a corner. And just like that, and I'll grab a corner again, make it a little bigger, and in a second it should come up, and that's how it'll look on my screen. That looks good. So there's you won, and if I click back here, there's you lose. So cool, 2 cool little backgrounds. So next, what I'm going to do is incorporate them into our script. So let's go back to our cat. So when our cat grabs the mouse. Now we do have one little problem. If I start my game right now, it'll still start on the background that says game over, you lose. So we need to take care of that first. So what I like to do is I go click on the stage, which is right over here. Click on the stage. Let's stop our script here, our game. and I'm going to click on stage, and I'm going to say, go to events and say when flag is clicked, go to looks and switch the backdrop to your original game backdrop. In this case, I'm just using the XY grid or a white backdrop. You could always change that. I'm going to go back to my XY grid in the beginning. So, and again, you don't have to use the XY grid. I was just using that for an example. You could also use the backdrop 1, which is just a plain white backdrop. And you could change that backdrop too if you wanted to. You can go here to backdrop, and if you wanted to make it more interesting than just white, you could also just use the same fill technique that we used before. So let's say I wanted to just make it a light blue background, light blue and red, and a fill tool. I can make my backdrop 1. So that'll look a little more interesting. And I'm gonna, instead of just calling them backdrop 1, backdrop 2, I'm gonna call this gameplay backdrop. So I'll call this one gameplay. I'm gonna click on the one for you lost. I'm gonna call this one you lose. And I'm going to call this last one you won. This way I can differentiate among them. So now if I go back to my scripts and I'm back here, make sure your stage is clicked. So rather than say switch backdrop to backdrop 1, which doesn't exist anymore, we're going to call it switch backdrop to gameplay when you hit the flag. So now here is my gameplay. Okay. Now when I lose, I need to tell it. So when we lose, fortunately, we're passing a caught mouse broadcast. So we could pass that broadcast and receive it to the stage also. So the stage, even though the stage is not a sprite, it can still receive broadcasts. So we can go to events and say when I receive caught mouse, all we have to do now is switch the backdrop to, and I like to wait a couple seconds just in case there's some animations going. You could add a wait. So if you wanted to wait 1 second and then switch the backdrop, that's fine. So, and you can time it. You could see how it looks on your screen. You could change it to any amount of seconds that you need. I'm going to just use 1 second, and then I'm going to go to looks, and then I'm going to switch backdrop to you lose in this particular case. Let's see if that works. I'm going to hit the flag, and I'm purposely going to get myself hit by the mouse. And after a second, I get game over, you lose after the animations are done. Okay, and if you wanted to wait longer, let's see, we could try 2 seconds, see how long that sequence takes. There you go, something like that. That should work out pretty good. So 2 seconds works. You can experiment with different second combinations. So here, if I tried 3, this will be my last one. And then it should switch. So somewhere between 2 and 3 is probably good. I'll leave it at 3. Then finally, when you win the game, let's go look at our cat code again. In our cat code, actually it's not the cat code, it's the Cheesy Puffs this time. In the Cheesy Puffs, we would basically say if the Cheesy Puffs are touching the mouse, we basically hide the Cheesy Puffs and we broadcast 1 game. So when the game is won, if you remember, the mouse does this. He says, nice job, you won. I'm going to take this out of the mouse. Well, we do want to hide him, so let's do that. So let's hide the mouse, and let's stop him from moving. Yeah, let's do, yeah, we could do stop all, and that's fine. Now, you got to be careful about this. Because you don't want it stopping. I'm going to leave stop all out for now because we don't want the game stopping before we switch backdrops either. So right now I'm just going to leave it at when I receive 1 game, then I hide the mouse. Okay, and let's click back to stage, and stage will do the same thing. We're going to go to events and say when I receive 1 game, it says when I receive caught mouse, we're going to change that to 1 game. So when I receive 1 game, I want to change my backdrop again. So we're going to switch backdrop to you won. And we could stop the game here at this point. Oh, and let's put that wait in there too. It's a good idea. So we can have it wait about 3 seconds, just in case there's any effects going on. Switch it to here, and then we can stop the whole game. And let's try that. I'm going to try to win the game. And I won. Okay, so 3 seconds seems a long time here. So since everything's just quickly hiding, we almost don't even need the wait. I'm going to take it out and try it this way. Hit the flag. Look, everything's looking good. And that is more instantaneous. So that works out quite well. And there you have it. So the game's complete, but it's also pretty easy. There's only one cat. So the next thing we want to do is duplicate our cats. So let's do that, and the easiest way to do it is just right-click and duplicate them. Right-click, duplicate, right-click, duplicate. And let's see what happens if we just run this now. And the problem is we seem to only have one cat. And the problem is we don't start our cats in different locations. We're starting them in the same location. So there's technically, if I hit stop here, you'll see there's actually 3 stacked cats. And we need to put the other 2 cats in the right position. So let's do that. We want them above and below. So whenever you're dealing with up and down and above and below in this particular case, and not right and left, we want them stacked 1, 2, 3. In this case, we're going to use the y-axis. So we need to make a change to where our y location is for our cat. So let's go ahead and do that. We'll go to cat 2. Cat 2, if you see here, the y starts at 0. See, right in the middle of the screen, right on the horizon line there. But the x is minus 170, so we don't want the y to be 0. We want the y to be. We'll make it a little higher. We'll say we'll try maybe we'll try 50 pixels. We'll try a y50, and cat 3 will be a minus 50. We'll try that, and let's see what that looks like. And you can see they're running right in sync there, like right on top of each other. So I'm going to spread them out a little more. I'm going to try minus 55 for cat 3 and click back to cat 2 and do 55. I'll keep them equidistant almost. Let's try 60 and minus 60. And we'll try that. Okay, so now at least there's some better spacing between them. But they're also going at the same pace. So there's a couple things we can do here. You can have the speeds differ. In other words, this cat 1 is going 10 steps. We could leave him at 10 steps. Cat 2 can go at 12 steps. And cat 3 we can make go really fast at 15 steps. So that's one thing we can do, and you'll see now they will kind of spread out, and they're going to each go at their own pace, and so it'll make timing this a little trickier. As you see, I just lost there, and I got the game over. We lose. Now notice there's a problem here. When I lose, the other cats still hang around, so we need to only the cat that gets hit disappears. So what we can do is, if you go back to cat 1, you notice all 3 cats have this broadcast caught mouse. So we can also receive the caught mouse in each one. So we could say, when I receive caught mouse, hide, just like that. Now, which means we don't really need to have this hide here. All 3 of them are going to be receiving this. So we can take this out, put this back in. So he's going to receive caught mouse here, and mouse 2 is going to be the same thing. We're going to say, when I receive caught mouse, hide, and also cat 3, when I receive caught mouse, hide again. And also be sure to take these hides out. You could leave the hide in. It's just not necessary to have it in both places. It's going to immediately disappear, and then it'll run that code again. It's not going to make a difference. If something's hidden, it's hidden. You can't hide something twice. But it makes our code a little cleaner. So now let's try it again. And we now have different speeds. I get hit. And what did I miss? This one? Let's see. Oh, I have this on 1 game. So this is a common mistake. Notice I have received 1 game here to hide. I want to have caught mouse. Oh, and I also need a 1 game also. Oh, I see what I did. I put it in 2 of the same places. My bad. So I need a when I won game hide and when I receive caught mouse. Let's make sure each of them have it. This one does. This one does not. So I can duplicate this and just change this to 1 game. Okay, so now it's right. All 3 should have 1 game caught mouse, 1 game caught mouse, and 1 game caught mouse. So this should be perfect now. If your screen never looks like what you're trying to do, always go back and look at your code. Chances are you've made a mistake. And it's always good. You can make mistakes. That's fine. As long as you can fix them. And that looks good. Game over, you lose. Perfect. Okay. Now, a couple other things we can add to this game to make it interesting. And that pretty much is the basics. You might want to add some sound to the game and play a couple sounds. So what we can do is for the mouse, so when the mouse wins the game, we can have him play a sound. We can click here on sounds. I'm going to just use a built-in sound, and let's do animal sounds. I'll play the chomp sound here. So that would be a good one because he comes up to the cheesy puff, so he's going to start chowing down. So so I added that sound, chomp, to the mouse, and so when he wins the game, I can have him play the sound. And then hide right after that. Let's see if that works. I'll have him sneak up there. Okay, that was... Now you didn't quite hear the sound too. And that's probably because the stage over here, we put that stop all. So we could add another wait here. Let's put that wait back in. We'll have it switch to the backdrop, then wait a second, and then stop all, and see if that works. This way we could hear the sound better. Well, what happened there? Let's try again. There we go. Much better. Okay, and then we could play a sound when the cat gets us. So, so back on our mouse again, and right here where we get caught, we can play, let's see, we will play the cat sound here. So let's go to sound, we'll go to new sound, we'll go to animal, and we can do a meow, just like that, and we'll jump over to sound, and we can do play sound until done, right about here, right under the stop other scripts, and let's see if that works. Okay, now notice it had to wait until the sound was done until it started spinning. Another option you can do to make sure the sound doesn't interfere, you can just do a play sound, and there should be enough time for the routine. But the difference between until done and play sound is if you do until done, the next block will not execute until the sound's done playing. If you do play sound, the sound could be right in the middle and the next blocks can execute while the sound's still executing. And you'll see the difference here. So I'm going to hit play. See? And by not having to wait, it played the sound correctly. So sometimes until done works really well. In this particular case, since we have this repeat loop afterwards, there's plenty of time to play that sound without it getting cut off. So something to keep in mind. So that worked really well, and we added some sounds. One other thing, if you want to, and this is optional, if you wanted to make your cats, for example, move or start at a random time, you can do that as well.